having volunteers do less to do more on the Church Revitalization Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast, brought to you by the Malphurs Group team, where each week we tackle important, actionable topics to help churches thrive. And now, here's your hosts, Scott Ball and A.J. Mathieu.
Welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast. My name is Scott Ball. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, A.J. Mathieu. A.J., welcome to the program.
I'm glad to be here, Scott. Got a great topic today.
We do have a good topic today. Before we dive into it, though, exciting announcement. We are now officially in public beta with the Healthy Churches Toolkit. I don't want to call it 2.0 necessarily, but it's a completely overhauled system with a different place where you log in and all of that. So if you're an existing...
It would qualify as a 2.0.
It would qualify.
Yeah, we don't want to add 2.0.
Yeah. So if you are already a Toolkit subscriber, you should have already received an email telling you how to do that, how to access that. But if you're like, I'm a Toolkit subscriber and I missed that email, reach out to us. We'll make sure you get in there. If you would like to try it out and join that beta, you need to have an existing Toolkit account. So go to healthychurchestoolkit.com, sign up for an account, and we'll get you in there. It's really great.
It is.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Here's a little side hack. If you follow us on YouTube, I've been posting some walkthrough videos for our subscribers so that they know how to use new features, but that's actually kind of a sneaky way to kind of see what you can do. So you can go on our YouTube channel and start watching those. I'm going to keep recording more and posting more as we go along.
All right. Well, there you go. Let's talk volunteers, Scott. You know what? Volunteers sometimes are doing a little too much. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have enough going on in my church. We need more people, and There's no way I could possibly scale back what people are doing. But we're gonna push back on that today.
Yeah, this is a really common problem. I don't know that I've ever worked with a church that didn't say, we've got people who are serving 3, 4, 5 different roles, and then you have other people who are doing nothing. It's that 80-20 principle. And yet there's this fear of, if we started moving people out of some of the 3rd or 4th or 5th roles and scaled them down to just 2, which is what we teach. We say people should only serve in a maximum of 2 areas. One area where they've got more responsibility, and then one area that's a low responsibility area. In fact, our leadership pipeline process sort of relies on churches moving in that direction, and people panic. They go, we could never do that. We could never move in that direction. And so the intention today is to actually explain not only that you can, but how. How can you do that? How can you begin to transition in that direction?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we got 4 things that we'll kind of take you through as kind of the primary things to begin to make this process work out. The first one is setting a realistic timeline for this. So this is not a plan it on Saturday, execute it on Monday kind of thing. This is, as with, really, Scott, a lot of the things that we talk about through leadership pipeline, strategic envisioning, nothing is like a next week change, almost nothing.
Right.
Most things in the church that you want to be sustainable, that you want to really guide well, gain support for, have things go as smoothly as possible, you need to have a pretty good ramp up time for that. And this is just no different. And so, if we're going to be transitioning people out of a few extra roles, we have to have a way for them to ramp down on that, have the plan for what's going to happen in that gap, and then be able to redirect, that energy that they're doing and that focus into a greater capacity in a more singular or dual area, as opposed to this, multiples of serving spaces. So one of the key things we would say would be to follow more of like your annual ministry rhythms for that, and not cut off like here we are, as this is being recorded and put out, Scott, it's in December 2025. And a lot of people's serving terms might have started in September and may run through the school year in May. And so you might be thinking, oh, we can do this and we'll make a change in January. No, that's probably going to be a little too quick. You can't disrupt sort of that mid-year, even though there's this maybe Christmas break for some of the serving areas in the church. We would say, no, carry that out, let them continue through to May, and maybe utilize summer for a transition so that fall is when a change might happen where you can be recruiting. And we'll get into that more here as we go.
Well, I mean, and even that might be too quick depending on the number of roles someone has to kind of work themselves out of, and just set that expectation, go, okay, we could probably roll you out of some of these things for next fall, but some of them, it might be later than that. And so I think a key to remember here is that we're advocating that you do not move quickly on this, but don't interpret slow as delay.
Yeah, inaction.
So it's intentional,
Mm-hmm.
not just slow, but intentional. So there are things that we are doing even while we are not yet pulling someone out of a role. It doesn't mean we're not doing anything. And we're going to talk about what those other things are. But I think that that's maybe another place where people get confused. We'll calm the panic and say, don't worry, you don't have to transition this immediately. But that doesn't mean there aren't things to do. Does that make sense? Like You can't just not flip the switch now. Oh, but we'll just flip the switch 9 months from now. No.
Which would still be abrupt because nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah, except instead of it being abrupt today, it's abrupt 9 months from now. So intentionality. I like to use, I really think it's a helpful analogy. It's a dimmer switch. It's not a light switch where it's just binary on off. It's a dimmer. There's a transition. Mm-hmm. So as we move into these other steps, we'll talk about the things that we should be doing during that time period.
Yeah. The second thing that we want to talk about is helping people to find the place that they best fit. And so it's perhaps less of a focus. Your intentionality is not on what can we drop from somebody, but where can we direct them into the greatest capacity? Likely of the things they're already serving in. I guess there might be a scenario where somebody doing 4 things and none of them are good.
They hate all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be the case, but perhaps you've got people that maybe the thing they've been doing longest was the original thing that they wanted to do. Maybe not, but we want to focus on this. So they need to be an active participant because if we're going to narrow their focus, we want it to be the best place for them to serve, the greatest area of gifting, the greatest area of passion, energy, excitement, the thing that they just really, it's not a drag for them when they're up for that Sunday to serve or whatever day it might happen. It's not the week that they go, oh, I hate this week. Mm-hmm. It needs to be the week that they're like, this is the week I like. This is the week I like doing what I'm doing. So they should be an active participant in that. And you also, as kind of with our first point, Scott, where it takes time, if you don't have any kind of systems in place or tools in place to help people find their best areas for spiritual gifts, personality type, that kind of thing, and knowing enough about your volunteer roles to be able to describe them accurately, then that's going to be how you're going to spend some of that build-up time in preparation for any kind of move.
Yeah. I mean, I would go so far to say not only should they select an area of their best alignment as it relates to divine design, that'd be number one. It may also be best for them to remain in the area where they have the most responsibility. And hopefully those things are overlapped. Mm-hmm. So, if they've got an area where they're really kind of leading a key area or they're a keystone volunteer in a particular ministry, I would rather them stay there and start to shed off some of the things where they're also a small group leader. They're also, an usher. They also help to communicate or coordinate communion. Let's get those things off because they're also a key coordinator in the children's ministry. Well, I'd rather them be in that role because that role is harder to replace than in one of these other roles. Now, if they really hate that job and it's not aligned with their gifting and it's not aligned with their calling, then we should roll them out of that because we don't want people to be miserable. But generally speaking, have people lean into, again, our goal is up to 2 places. So we don't have to get them out of everything. We just need to get them out of, if they're in 3 things, get them out of 1 thing. If they're in 4 things, get them out of 2. And have them select one area where they've got more responsibility, and then another area where they have very little, like being a small group leader and then also being a greeter. That'd be fine. But I don't want them being a small group leader and one of the key leaders in children's ministry, because both of those require a lot of time and attention. So pick one of those and then roll into something that's lower responsibility. So you mentioned this, AJ, but if people don't have a process or a plan for that divine design discovery, we have that built into the Healthy Churches Toolkit. We have a divine design discovery tool. It's a little assessment. It does not take very long. It takes 5 to 10 minutes for people to take it, and it will show them, here's your temperament, here are your spiritual gifts. It's not authoritative, but here's an idea of what your spiritual gifts may be, would maybe be a better way of saying that. And then here's an idea of some volunteer positions that might align with your gifting. And that's built into the toolkit as well.
Yeah. And it's really easy to administer as well. Sending out a link and they can go through some assessments.
Yep. And you can see all those results and go back and so you can always go back and see, what's Jim's spiritual gifts, or who are all the people in my church that have taken this assessment who have the spiritual gift of teaching. And you can kind of get a list and see who those people are.
Yeah. Okay. Our third one here today is to engage those volunteers in the process of recruiting their successors. They're especially now in different levels, different size churches, different levels of leadership. You as a decision maker, maybe a staff person, are going to be more removed from other levels of serving in the church. But these folks maybe they're going to be moving are much closer to that, and their coworkers or other people that they just know within the church. So they're going to be the ones that best understand the job because they've been doing it. No matter how much you think, they know the reality of it. So engage them in working towards who might be a good replacement for them. They might not always have somebody right away in mind, but again, with a long timeline to ramp up to this, having this conversation with them on the front end can help be in mind then for them. Like, be thinking about this. Think about these folks that you've been working with or who you might know that would be a good fit. Perhaps somebody that they've been working with that's already been there a while, and they do have the leadership qualities to move maybe up a level in leadership to be able to take over a new position. So, but they're going to be closer to the work, they're closer to the people around them, and it'll probably save you time and not only finding somebody initially, but having that person be a better long-term fit by working through this transition this way.
Yeah, not only that, but one of the reasons why you have the same people doing 1,000 jobs is when there's a new job and you need to recruit someone, those are the same people. Those same people come to your mind. So those are the first shoulders that you tap. In all likelihood, the people who are in those positions, they may know people in the ministry or in the church that you don't know or don't know as well. They've got some personal stakes in wanting to find someone that they believe could be good at doing their position. So, empower them with a position description or a job description that they could hand to people and go, hey, here's what I'm doing. Would you be willing to try this? So this is a bonus tip, I guess, but getting people to commit to forever or an undetermined period of time is a great way to get people to say no. When you say, hey, will you try this out with me for a semester? Will you be shadow my job? Or for the next 6 weeks or for 2 months, whatever it is. It's way easier for people to say yes because they feel like they have an opportunity to say no later. When it feels like a life sentence, then they're going to say no, or it's going to be easier for them to say no. So as you empower these folks to help find their successor, encourage them to invite someone to shadow them for a season rather than forcing a lifetime commitment down their throat all at once.
Yeah, good advice. All right. Expanding a little bit on the previous mention of understanding people's divine design and things like that, our fourth step for you is to ensure that you actually have a leadership pipeline process developed out in the church. This is what's going to make this, perhaps singular move that you might do because a couple of guys on a podcast suggested it to something that actually becomes the culture of your church. And we're talking about having a really good understanding of your entire structure, your leadership structure and your process for engaging people, for recruiting, for getting them deployed in different ministry areas in the church. So this would start with having a good understanding of your structure. This would be an org chart. And this should be something that a well-designed leadership pipeline in the church, your leadership org chart, your structure should be relatively simple to sketch out if somebody just wanted to hear about it or needed to know about it. If it's too complicated and you've got lines going all over the place, then you need help in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to, carrying this on, this is going to bring clarity to the roles in your church that need to be filled. How many people do we need in every space? What does the ideal candidate look like for that role? How can we easily describe what this position actually is all about, what the time commitment is, and who the best fit would be for it? How are we going to train people? How are we going to continuously coach people? All of these are the aspects of a well-built out leadership pipeline design in your church. And so this is a game changer for recruiting people, for keeping them longer, and for seeing just higher levels of discipleship happening in the church and people that are serving with joy whenever they are called upon. So we are big proponents of this, Scott. No doubt about it. And if you've been around at all, you know this.
Yeah, we've got a lot of content on the podcast about it. And, hate to keep saying it, but, the training is in the Healthy Churches Toolkit to learn the pipeline principles. And the new version of the Healthy Churches Toolkit has pipeline management components built in. You can build your pipeline, manage leaders, all of that inside of the toolkit. So the thing is if you don't solve the systemic problem, like the reason why you got to this in the first place, then to your point, AJ, you're just going to end up back in the same place in a couple of years. So if you shuffle people around one time, but don't solve the root problem of why that happened, you'll repeat the problem. So that's why building a pipeline is so important. And healthy churches should have more leaders than they have roles to fill. You should have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to leaders, because should have such a consistent process for identifying new leaders and getting people plugged in that you genuinely hard to find a spot for someone to serve, because we just have a consistent mechanism and process for raising people up and getting them plugged in. And that's rarely the case, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And so maybe start with what's there in the toolkit and begin building that out. And don't put the pressure on yourself to solve it in 5 minutes. It's going to take time, but you can move intentionally. I've been told that the special forces say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I don't know if that's true. Someone on the podcast, we have a lot of veterans who listen to the podcast. I think they can let us know if that's like a movie quote or an actual thing that that people in the military say. But it's definitely true. If you just think, okay, we don't need to do this fast, but we do need to do it intentionally. And if we do it with intention, it's going to actually feel pretty fast in the end. And then build the system. Don't just fill the slots.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth investing in. Your people are your greatest asset to be the church for one another and for the world. And this is an area that there's some great tools and resources, and we can maximize this, and we can break some systemic and traditional and historical cycles in the church of just twisting people's arms and then burning them out. And we can do better. So I hope this will be a little kick in the pants for you to think about how your processes work, where you're at now, and how you could improve in this area of managing and leading volunteers, increasing the quantity and quality of leaders in your church. Thanks for being with us this week on the Church Revitalization Podcast. Be sure and check out, if you're not watching on YouTube, be sure to check the video version out on YouTube, and leave us a like and a share, subscribe over there so that we can continue to get words out to more people for building healthy churches. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.